Hi, I'm Anna. My day was already chaotic, juggling a seemingly never-ending to-do list, when Mark casually threw a wrench into my morning over breakfast. "Oh, by the way, my parents are coming over for dinner tonight," he said, as nonchalantly as if he were mentioning the forecast. I paused, my spoon of cereal hovering midair. "Tonight? You mean this evening?" The surprise was evident in my voice. Mark nodded, unfazed. "Yeah, I figured it'd be nice to have them over. You can cook up something special, right?" I lowered my spoon, a wave of irritation and disbelief washing over me. "Mark, I've got a huge presentation tomorrow. How could you schedule this without talking to me first?" "It's just dinner, Anna. You always pull it off," he replied, dismissing my concerns with a casual sip of coffee. "Just dinner?" "Mark, it's not about just handling things, it's about consideration. You should have asked me first." I tried to keep my voice calm, though frustration was bubbling beneath the surface. He shrugged, clearly not grasping the weight of his thoughtlessness. "I don't get why you're making a big fuss. You're my wife, it's part of the deal to handle stuff at home." That comment hit a nerve. "My job? That's what you think, Mark? That I'm only here to take care of the house?" I felt my voice rising, disbelief creeping in. Mark finally looked up, sensing he might have crossed a line. "That's not what I meant, Anna. Come on, you know I appreciate everything you do. Do you? Because it doesn't feel that way when you spring last-minute things on me. Being your wife doesn't make me an on-call hostess, Mark." He sighed and put down his cup. "They're my parents, Anna. It's important to me. Can't you just do this for me?" I took a deep breath, thoughts racing. "It's always just this once with you, Mark, but it's never just once. You need to start respecting my time. I'm more than the person who cooks and cleans, I have my own responsibilities." Mark's phone buzzed, and he glanced at it, clearly eager to cut the conversation short. "We'll talk about this later. I'm late for a meeting. Just think about it, okay?" As he left, I sat there, feeling equal parts defeated and determined. Something had to change. I wasn't going to be the quiet partner in this relationship, constantly accommodating sudden plans. No, this time I was going to make sure my voice was heard. I already had an idea of how. By 6 o'clock, I made my decision: no cooking tonight. Instead, I ordered takeout from our local Thai place. It wasn't the fancy dinner Mark had in mind, but it was my quiet protest, my stand for being respected. I set the table with paper plates, and just as I finished, the doorbell rang. Mark rushed to greet his parents, his face lighting up. "Mom, Dad, glad you could make it." Their smiles faltered a bit as they took in the casual setup. "Takeout?" Mark's mom asked, a hint of surprise in her voice. "Yeah, Anna decided to take it easy tonight," Mark replied, trying to hide his disappointment. I smiled as I handed them their plates. "I thought we'd keep it simple tonight. Please, make yourselves comfortable." Dinner started with an awkward silence, broken only by the sound of cutlery clinking. Mark's dad attempted to ease the tension. "So, Anna, how's work going?" Before I could answer, Mark cut in, his tone laced with annoyance. "Actually, I think we need to talk about that. Anna, don't you think you could have put in a little more effort for tonight? It's not every day my parents come over." I looked at him, then his parents, choosing my words carefully. "I understand it's important, Mark, but I had a really overwhelming day. I thought it'd be best to be honest about what I could handle today." Mark's mom nodded, seemingly sympathetic, but Mark wasn't letting it go. "You could have planned better, Anna. It's not like you didn't know they were coming." "I was told this morning," I said calmly. "Sometimes, Mark, we have to adjust." Tonight, this was me adjusting. The tension in the room thickened. Mark, clearly frustrated, raised his voice. "It's about putting in extra effort. That's what families do for each other." "I agree," I responded, my voice steady. "But respect and understanding are mutual. I needed you to understand my limits today, Mark." Mark's father, trying to mediate, chimed in, "Maybe we all need to communicate a bit more. It seems like there's been a misunderstanding." But Mark wasn't backing down. No, Dad, I think it's pretty simple. Wanting a proper meal isn't asking for much. And understanding each other's day and boundaries isn't asking for too much either, I replied, standing firm as the voices in the room rose. Mark shook his head, embarrassed. This was supposed to be a nice family dinner. As the argument continued, his parents, visibly uncomfortable, decided it was best to leave. We'll let you two work this out, his mom murmured, her eyes soft but filled with sadness as they made their way to the door. Watching them leave, I felt a confusing mix of triumph and regret. Yes, I stood up for myself, but at what cost? As the door clicked shut behind them, the weight of the evening's reality settled in. This wasn't the end, it was just the beginning of a much-needed conversation, and I knew things would have to change. After his parents left, the silence between Mark and me was deafening. He sat there, staring at the remnants of our takeout meal, his jaw tightly clenched. I knew this was my chance to make my position crystal clear. Mark, I started, my voice firm but tired from the argument earlier, I'm not joking about what I said. I can't keep shouldering everything at home on top of my work. We need to start sharing responsibilities. He looked up, a mix of frustration and disbelief on his face. Anna, are you seriously going to blow this out of proportion over one dinner? It's not just one dinner, Mark. It's about all the last-minute plans, all the added stress when my plate is already full. This is about respect and teamwork, I responded, hoping he would grasp the bigger picture. Mark scoffed, waving his hand as if to brush away my concerns. You're overreacting. Plans change all the time. You're supposed to adapt. But not by making me the only one adapting, I shot back. From now on, I won't be cooking or cleaning until we come to an agreement on how to share these responsibilities. He looked at me, incredulous. You're not serious. What are we supposed to eat if you stop cooking? That's something you might want to start thinking about, Mark. It's part of sharing the load, I said, leaving the room to let my words sink in. Over the next few days, the consequences of my decision became more evident. Mark's routine fell into disarray without the structure I had unknowingly provided. Laundry piled up, and the fridge became a graveyard of leftover takeout containers. Each night, I watched as Mark rifled through the kitchen, growing increasingly irritated. Where's the pasta? How does this thing even work? He muttered one evening, fumbling with the blender. I leaned against the doorway, silently observing. The manual is in the drawer. Maybe start with something easier, like spaghetti, I suggested. He sighed, his frustration obvious. This is absurd, Anna. Why are you putting us through this? Through this, or through what I've been dealing with alone for so long? I replied, softening my tone just a little. I just want you to see what it's like. Maybe then we can figure out how to actually support each other. As the days passed, Mark's disbelief slowly turned into a reluctant acknowledgement of how much I contributed to our daily lives. One evening, after another disastrous attempt at cooking, he finally spoke up. Okay, I get it. This isn't easy. Maybe I wasn't being fair with how much you handle, he admitted, staring down at the charred remains of what was once meant to be dinner. I nodded, feeling a glimmer of hope. It's not just the cooking, Mark. It's about us being equals. Can we try to work on that? He hesitated, then nodded, the first real sign that he was starting to understand. Yeah, we can try. Let's figure this out together. That night, we sat down to a simple meal, sandwiches, and a salad we both prepared. It wasn't fancy, but it felt like a small victory. A step toward balance. Word of the changes in our home didn't stay private for long. As it tends to happen, friends and family began to weigh in, especially Mark's parents, the unintended catalysts of this shift. One night, after yet another makeshift dinner, Mark received a call from his mother. Hey, Mom, he answered, his voice cautious, knowing she wasn't calling just for a friendly chat. Mark, we've heard some things. Is it true that Anna has stopped doing the housework? Her voice carried concern, mixed with a hint of disappointment. Mark glanced at me before responding, frowning. Yeah, Mom. We're trying to work out some balance at home. There was a pause before his mother's voice returned, more insistent this time. Balance? Mark, your father and I always shared responsibilities. Why is it different for you? The conversation ended with Mark promising to discuss it further later, but the seed had been planted. His parents' disapproval added a new pressure, one that pushed him to reflect on his stance even more. Meanwhile, our friends also chimed in. Social events became opportunities for casual but pointed comments about our evolving home dynamic. "So, Mark, heard you've been learning to cook," a friend joked during a barbecue, laughter echoing around us. "Yeah, you could say that," Mark replied, managing a strained smile. "Turns out it's a lot harder than it looks." These light-hearted exchanges, though seemingly harmless, underscored a harsh truth. Mark was starting to realize just how skewed his expectations had been, and it wasn't easy for him to accept. Feeling the pressure from everyone around him, Mark began to truly reflect on his previous assumptions. One evening, as he sat folding laundry, he broke the silence. "Anna, I think I've been wrong," he began, his voice quiet. "I didn't see how much you've been doing. I took it for granted." I stopped folding and looked at him. "What made you realize that?" He sighed, running a hand through his hair. "It wasn't just you, it's everything. My parents, our friends. I feel like I was the only one who didn't get it. I regret how difficult I made things for you." This acknowledgement marked a pivotal moment for us. It transcended the mere issues of chores or meal preparation. It became about recognizing and appreciating each other's contributions. It was a matter of nurturing respect and partnership instead of taking them for granted. As we continued our evening, now collaborating to sort the laundry, a sense of camaraderie emerged that had previously been lacking. Although it seemed like a simple task, organizing socks and shirts, it represented a significant transformation in our relationship, one that held the promise of a more equitable and respectful future. After weeks filled with tension and adaptation, Mark and I found ourselves in a calmer, more introspective space. He had started to grasp the daily pressures I endured, pressures he had unintentionally exacerbated with his expectations. On a quiet Sunday morning, we sat at the kitchen table, enjoying coffee, a rare moment of peace enveloping us. Mark set his cup down, his eyes locking with mine, filled with a sincerity that had been absent in earlier discussions. "Anna, I need to apologize," he began, his tone steady and genuine. "I've been reflecting on everything that's occurred, on what you've been trying to convey to me." I listened intently, holding back my breath, not wanting to disrupt this moment. "I've come to see how unjust I've been, expecting you to juggle everything at home while also pursuing your career," Mark continued. "I placed too many demands on you, and I'm truly sorry for that." The gravity of his words lingered in the air, sincere and promising. "I want to improve," he added. "I want us to function as a team. I promise to communicate better and share responsibilities, not out of obligation, but because I genuinely want to. Because I appreciate you and everything you do." A sense of warmth washed over me, a blend of relief and cautious hope. "Thank you, Mark," I replied, my voice gentle yet firm. "That means a great deal to me. It's all I've ever wanted, to feel like we're in this together." From that moment onward, positive changes began to unfold. Mark stepped up at home, not only sharing chores, but also engaging in planning and decision-making. We established weekly meetings to discuss our household duties and any necessary adjustments to keep everything running smoothly. This change was about more than just who washed the dishes or prepared dinner. It was about acknowledging and honoring each other's contributions, no matter how small. Our communication flourished, addressing not only mundane tasks, but also our aspirations and frustrations. It brought us closer together, strengthening our bond and deepening our understanding of one another. My push for equality and respect within our marriage was a crucial triumph, not solely for me, but for both of us. It redefined our roles and responsibilities, fostering a partnership that was genuinely balanced and respectful. Reflecting on these developments, I recognized the power of advocating for oneself and the significant impact it can have on a relationship. It was a lesson in respect, partnership, and love, a lesson that transformed our marriage into something more robust and resilient than before. This narrative, a simple account of disrupted dinner plans, sheds light on the often overlooked struggles of domestic life. Yet, it also illustrates the remarkable changes that can occur when one stands firm for respect and equality. It serves as a reminder that in relationships, the most meaningful victories are those that draw us closer to understanding and supporting each other, fostering a partnership built on mutual respect and love. Though Mark and Anna's story has reached its conclusion, it sparks a discussion we've all faced at some point: who should handle which responsibilities at home? And how should couples navigate changes to traditional roles?